Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Leo for March 2017. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, to see what is new on my blogs. I've gone blog crazy this month, and to see if there are still slots left in my astrology apprenticeship program. If you want to use astrology for personal or professional purposes, I can help. So what's going on in this month of March? A crazy month of March. We have eclipse news still coming in, life-altering news. Depending on where the eclipses hit in your personal chart is usually whether or not you're one of the people that are having the life changes, or if you're just watching other people have the life changes. You know, I've started to see this even at the end of January, often 4 to 6 weeks before the eclipses. You see people having these life-changing pieces of news and events coming in. So we still have that energy in March, and still plenty of news, new news and follow-up news coming in. We have the clashes of Titans. Titans, I call the outer planets Titans, also kind of like sumo wrestlers. They get together locked in these mathematical configurations, and it brings major long-term themes that we are working with. So we have the second pass of two different clashes of Titans that both which started at the end of last year and continue in March and don't finish until the fall. We've got the new astrological year, which is right before the kickoff party for the astrological year, which is the new moon in Aries, which is March 27th, which is the best day besides your birthday to do a vision board to plant seeds for your future. So we have all of these general transits to talk about, besides the fact that Venus is retrograde. So Venus goes retrograde once every 18 months. Venus rules love and other relationships, beauty and fashion, and money and finances. So there's a huge umbrella that Venus covers with her influence, and when the planet is retrograde, there are a lot of notable things. So I wanted to really help you with this transit. So I've done an extensive blog series about Venus retrograde through the signs and houses. I have the Venus retrograde do's and don'ts blog and video. I also did a Venus retrograde in the birth chart, so if you're an expectant parent, you have a baby due in that time, or if you have Venus retro in your chart, then check it out. So what we're going to focus on for this reading for Leo is what house is the retrograde going to be in for you, and what could that bring? So depending on your Leo placement, you will either have the predominant experience of Venus retrograde in your 9th house or your 8th house. Everyone globally will experience the energy of Venus retrograde in Aries and Pisces, because that's the sign that it's going to be retrograde in. So you will feel that too, and I'll go a little bit more into what that looks like when I talk about the general transits. But the things specific for Leos are the house that these things happen in. So if your birthday is in like the first half of the sign, basically, you know, the first couple of weeks of the sign, or the first 15 degrees, if you're watching for your rising sign, your predominant experience of this retrograde is going to be in the 9th house. But even you middle degree placements are basically those in the second third of the 30 days. So if we break up the 30 days that the sun is in Leo into 3 increments of 10, the first 10 days are early degree, second 10 days are middle degree, and last 10 days are late degree. And the same for if you're watching for your rising sign, 0 to 9 degrees is early, 10 to 19 is middle, and 20 to 29 degrees is late. So the early and middle degree placements, the first part of the middle degree placements, you'll have this predominant retrograde in the 9th house. But you will also have, the middle degree placements are also going to have some of this in the 8th house, and all the late degree placements are going to have the predominant experience in the 8th house. Okay, so what does that look like? When Venus is in retrograde in the 9th house, topics of education, research, how to make money, writing, speaking, interacting internationally with business, or returning to or reconsidering how you may have done this in the past. It's basically a look to the past involving things in the 9th house. So some questions that may naturally come up, or that you can proactively ask. Is there a writing, teaching, learning, or other Sagittarian 9th house project that you started but didn't finish, that you have returning passion for? So going back to old writing projects, studying projects, teaching projects, different countries, different cultures, learning a language, studying abroad, things like that. Is there a location that you've been to that's calling you to return? People, I know myself, I've experienced this call from a place to tell me I got to get my butt there. And this is a time where it's going to be really common that somebody gets a call, like to go to a place, and it could be quite far away. So there could be a location calling you. Maybe you've been there, maybe you haven't yet. Is there a Sagittarian ninth house based way you made money that you can return to? Is there a church or other spiritual studies that you danced with in the past that you're drawn to go back to now? Things like this are the kinds of things that will come up when Venus is retrograde in the ninth house. So I have the affirmation for you. I reconnect with past experiences in meaningful ways. Sagittarius energy is always looking for meaning. You know, it doesn't just leave anything alone. It doesn't just let it be superficial or let it be what it is, you know. It wants to have meaning. So this energy of reconnecting with past experiences or places in meaningful ways is what's up right now. You can see pretty versions of the affirmations that I make for you on my Instagram account too, if you want those to help you with your work. So the rest of you will experience the predominant energy of Venus retrograde in the 8th house. And so the topics that are often going to come up have to do with basically money, sex, and power. The 8th house is the house of intimacy. It's the house of shared finances. It's also called other people's money. So inheritances, family money, spousal money, you know, sweepstakes, money that you found. Just money that comes out of nowhere, basically, or that you worked with someone else to get, or that someone gives you or loans you. Credit, debt, all of that. One of the best things there is to do when Venus is in retrograde in the 8th house is to pay off debt. Paying off debt is an amazing way to use Venus retrograde because you really want to be smart with money, basically. You know, when Venus is in retrograde, it's a time to be conservative with money and avoid spending it unless it meets. I have some rules for spending money on Venus retrograde. You can see on the blog, Venus retrograde do's and don'ts. I also talk about it in the video, but it's easier to see in the blog. If it meets these criteria, then it's probably fine to spend the money, and it might actually be a good idea to spend the money. But if it doesn't, the general rule is you want to be conservative with money. You want to be staying the course, paying things off, making debt manageable, you know, not necessarily taking a bunch of stuff on because you're not seeing clearly when it comes to money when Venus is in retrograde. Now, that doesn't mean you want to pass up an opportunity that comes to you, but as far as going out and trying to actively look for something, if you have to do that, going back to people or financial relationships from the past are going to be your better way to go. So individual and couples counseling is a fantastic way to use this energy. Tantric studies, either for self or profession. Deep spiritual work of any kind. Re-exploring a previous romantic or financial relationship. Studying or participating in anything involving mysteries, research, astrology, psychology, parapsychology, numerology, tarot, human design. Basically any divination or psychological tool or connecting with fairies or elementals, anything that's not really in this dimension is really good. And if you're thinking about doing those things for money or have done that in the past, then there's even more of a chance of that coming up because Venus is involved. Anything that you can do to help the magic return to your current relationships or to assess whether it can come back. You know, this basically Venus retrograde is a time of assessment. And things will come up. Anything that was swept under the rug will come up. Things you didn't know about may come up, you know, from your partner's past, from your own past, things you've forgotten about. Debts could come up, you know, on many different levels, obligations. So our theme here and my affirmation for you is, I attract amplified synergistic connections. What we really are trying to get here is synergy. And Venus retrograde in this house is going to allow you to look at and clear out the blocks to creating synergistic connections, which is the goal here. So these are the things that are specific for Leo. Now let's talk about these outer planets and the dance that they're participating in and what that looks like for us and how we can empower ourselves by summoning our inner badass, which is the theme of the general transits. So I'm calling the theme of the month for the general transit, so this is relevant for all signs. Summon your inner badass. And what I imagine when I'm seeing the energies of March all coming together is a hero that is walking through a scene that we're observing, and there are difficulties coming at them, and they're standing tall and strong and confident and moving through and being triumphant at the end of the challenges. Every month brings challenges and opportunities and sweet spots. I see challenges always as opportunities. So a month that has more challenges in some ways can be a month full of more opportunities. You know, we have started to ask wrong questions in our lives, I think, or questions that cause us to experience life in a disempowered way. When we ask questions, what's going to happen in the stars that's going to stress me out, or tell me what's going to happen, these are disempowered questions. The questions we want to be asking astrology and in general is, help me understand what's going on here so that I can maximize the potentials for my highest expression. And that's what I focus on. So I want to help you ask different questions, and that's part of summoning your inner badass, because the more empowered questions you ask, the more of an empowered life you will live. So we've got multiple important aspects going on this month, and I'm going to go through them and how I think that we can most use them. There are also some lesser aspects that you definitely will feel, sweet days, challenging days, etc. A longer list of those that you can get when you sign up for my free email newsletter at anniehelpsyou.com. You'll get my monthly write-up, which includes a written version of the things that I touch on in the horoscope for the general transits, and it also includes more things that I don't have time to talk about. So if you have signed up for my email newsletter and you're not receiving it, it could be in your spam or social or events folders, because I do send them out every month. Okay, so the first aspect of the month is March 2nd, and this is Jupiter in Libra opposing Uranus in Aries, and this is happening at 20 degrees. So if you have planets near the 20 degrees, you're probably you're going to be affected more than these aspects without them, but globally everyone will still be experiencing this. So that expression, things come in threes, is astrological, and that's because often things that we're experiencing come from aspects in the sky, and these ones that are big long-term themes, they usually involve what I call the titans, the outer planets. It's like a sumo match between these planets that just carry a massive amount of power and a massive amount of potential. So when you have Jupiter, an outer planet, and Uranus, an outer planet, coming together in what could be considered a challenging aspect called an opposition, they're trying to find balance. An opposition is two opposing forces. They're antagonistic, but they can also become synergistic. So the more you can transcend whatever the issue is, the more those planets will work in synastry. So Jupiter wants to expand, and Uranus wants to innovate. Libra is the planet of the sign of we, and Aries is the sign of me. So we've got a me-we aspect of a theme trying to get things worked out that started at the end of December. And this is in March 2nd, it's the second pass. And then on September 27th, we have the final part of the story. These are like chapters in a story that are ongoing. So it's some sort of breaking free from constraints in relationships. And that's basically the theme. So we might perceive someone as limiting us, or someone might be perceiving us as limiting them. And maybe that is true. But what's probably more true is that we have limitations within us as far as how we can experience relationship, and we project that limitation on all of our relationships because it's coming from the inside. So you have an opportunity here to break free from your pattern within yourself, so you can stop enslaving your partner to play a certain role, and you can stop being attractive to those circumstances that are unfulfilling for you. So that's very exciting. So then on March 4th, we have Venus going retrograde. We've been talking about this for a while because the shadow period started at the end of January. And this transit only happens once every 18 months, and there's a lot that goes along with it. So definitely check out my Venus retrograde do's and don'ts blog and video. I'm also writing some other extensive Venus retrograde blogs that you can look for on my website, AnnieHelpsYou.com. And the basic gist of Venus retrograde is that Venus, we call Venus the triple goddess because she rules love, beauty, and money. So beauty also includes aesthetics in your environment, art, design, fashion, appearance, things like that. So she's going backwards, and when she goes backwards, it's a time to reconsider everything about love, beauty, and money. It's a time to go back to old ideas, old things that worked, old clients. Many people will revisit previous relationships. People who are staying in the same relationship will revisit topics that came up in the past, for better and worse. Venus retrograde is not just a time where unresolved conflicts can come up, although that is definitely a theme. Anything swept under the rug in love, beauty, or money will come back up to be looked at. But it's also a time where lots of magic can return to those areas of life. You can find money. You can have love return to a relationship where it had left. You can find some riches with your self-esteem development, which is another important topic for this retrograde. So we've got that going on from March 4th through April 15th. And it's going to be retrograde from 13 degrees of Aries back to 26 degrees of Pisces. So in the, we talked about where the Venus retrograde is taking place in the house for your sign. For all signs, we will experience Venus retrograde in Aries, which is similar to the first house, or is the same as the first house retrograde, and 26 degrees of Pisces, which is the same as the 12th house retrograde. So depending on where your placements were for your sign, you might be having the same themes come up, or you might be having some additional themes come up. But the general story of Venus in Aries has to do with self-esteem. It's talking about appearance, fashion, how you put yourself out into the world. Pisces has to do with hidden places. So this is a place where this hidden money can come to you, money that you didn't know that you had, or that you hid from yourself, or that was in the backdrop somehow. It's just stuff from the past involving love, beauty, and money. That's the basic gist of Venus retrograde. So then on March 12th, we have a full moon at 22 degrees of Virgo. And full moons, the best way to manage full moons, I think, is to leave some space around them, because full moons are a time when our emotions just sort of shake off. Everything that we've been accumulating for the month coming to fullness is just a time to shake it off, like a dog shakes off water, So often there's something dramatic, or there's something really cool going on that you want to be present for, So I usually keep a little space around the full moons for whenever these manifestations come up, because the best way to deal with them is to be present with them. So Virgo rules health, your daily work, it rules pets. So it's possible that something involving those things could come to your attention, or need attention, or come up as a focus at this time. The full moon is also making quite a lot of aspects, opposing Mercury and Chiron, trining Pluto, and squaring Saturn. So we've got a lot of power at this full moon, I think, to overcome the energy of woundedness. And this is going to be a theme this month because of aspects with Chiron. Chiron is an asteroid that is called the Wounded Healer. And the idea of the Wounded Healer, or my understanding of the Wounded Healer, and as I've observed it through countless charts, is that it's a place of weakness. That deep place where if someone gets at that, then you don't know what comes out. It gets ugly. It's a very wounded place, or a very weak place for you. So the idea of Chiron, the highest vibration, is that you strengthen, you focus your attention on that weakness or that vulnerability, and it becomes a strength. So that's the transcendent version. So like in the instance of the energy in Virgo rules health. Maybe some people have health weaknesses. Maybe they have to work harder to attain health. And when that happens, they might wind up being healthier and staving off other health issues because they had a weakness that made them focus on their health. And if they didn't have that meticulous focus, then they could have created other problems maybe, or maybe they wind up teaching or helping people from it, or improving the lives of others because of what they've had to go through. So this is just an example of how you can take any woundedness that comes up this month or ever and convert it into something positive and powerful and supportive. So on March 20th, we have the beginning of the astrological new year. I never feel like the new year is starting on January 1st, especially when it's in the midst of a retrograde like it was this year and some other years. So March is when the planets start to move into Aries, and the planet of Aries, or the sign of Aries, is the baby of the zodiac. It's that bursting forth, that energy of spring, something new beginnings. So you'll see as the planets are moving into this sign, people get impulsive, they get excited, they get wild, they want to do stuff, they feel active. And this is the energy of New Year. So on March 27th, we have the new moon in Aries, and I always consider the new moon in Aries to be like the kickoff party for the new year. It's like the new year starts around March 20th, and then when the new moon in Aries comes, it's like, yay, okay, it's a new year, let's have a party. That's like New Year's Eve, So this new moon in Aries, all the new moons in Aries, so the one new moon that we have in Aries a year, is the best time of the whole year besides your birthday to do vision boards or other seed planting for your future, things that you want in that upcoming year. So definitely take full advantage of that. This new moon also carries a lot of power. It's conjunct Chiron and Venus. It's square Saturn, and it's coinciding with a Mars and Taurus and Neptune sextile, which is a 60-degree angle. It's a positive angle. So there's, again, a lot of power behind this moon phase. On March 30th, we have our last big aspect of the month, which is the second Jupiter square with Pluto. Similar to how we've been talking about this Jupiter opposition with Libra, how it happened once last year, so did this Jupiter and Pluto aspect. And this one's happening at 19 degrees. On November 24th of last year, this Jupiter and Pluto first pass happened. Now on March 30th, the second pass happens. And then on August 4th, the last pass will happen. So we've got these 3 chapters of this ongoing story. And one of the main themes, I think, of this ongoing story has to do with ambitions, rising ambitions, and the idea of competition and what we have to do or what we're willing to do or what we think we have to do to succeed. In a third dimensional reality, there is competition. There's focus on competition. And there are all of the energies that go along with competition. It's kind of gross, It can be very, very low vibe and not conducive to conscious evolution to focus too much on the energy of competition. My suggestion, I invite you to use this energy to transcend competition and tune into divine timing and your divine path and purpose. So if you're out there doing what you're supposed to be doing and you feel like Spirit is guiding you and you're on track and you're speaking your truth or doing your truth, then it doesn't really matter what anyone else is doing. You will attract to you the people and the customers that will be perfect for you. And so really there's no competition on the spiritual plane. And this is an affirmation from Florence Scovel Shinn, who is one of my all-time favorite teachers. She's not in form anymore that I know of. She wasn't even when she came to me. She had passed a long time ago. So she was teaching about, she was actually teaching about Jesus's work as a metaphysician, teaching about transcending mundane reality while still in form, like bringing heaven onto earth in our experience. And that is an affirmation I got from her. So there's no competition on the spiritual plane. So if you are conducting yourself in a way that is high vibrational, if you are doing everything that is in sync with your beliefs and your values, then you can transcend this energy. So you just check in with yourself and see how this is true for you, and just look out for it, because these themes are sometimes very subtle. Sometimes they come more into the forefront, but overall they're very subtle sometimes. So these are the main things that I am seeing for the month for the general transit. So you have plenty of opportunities to summon your inner badass. Definitely go to my website, AnnieHelpsYou.com. Check out my blogs. I have blogs on all different kinds of topics, not just astrology. If you want to learn astrology with me, then I might still have some slots available in my astrology apprenticeship program. If you want to bring your business online, check out my Creating Successful Online Business course. And if you would like to be a coach as your profession, then you can check out my coach certification course. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.